never has been the devil. Never was the devil. The problem was sin. Is that plain? Hello? The problem is sin. Jesus Christ came to save his people from their... He didn't come to save them from the devil. What we have to preach is the gospel. That's the good news. Hey! He became sin who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God through him. Not our righteousness, his. He is our righteousness. He is our redemption. He's everything. But it is what he did 2,000 years ago that justifies me. It's not what I do. It's what he did for me. And I'm made holy by his life in me. I'm not made holy by what I do. I'm made holy by what he did for me. That's what's so wonderful. The fact is that Jesus Christ has done it all. And we need to realize that the gospel is a wonderful thing of good news. Now, people do not need to come into church and be scared spitless by idiots telling them they've got devils. Someone just came up to me in the meeting, told me he went to a church and they told him he'd got a religious spirit. For goodness sake. Every demon's religious. Every devil's religious. Every devil's unclean. That's why if you throw water at someone with a devil, the demon flees. He doesn't want to wash. It's an unclean spirit. No. Just have a sense of humor. Come on, some of you couldn't crack a smile if you tried. Spend too long taking yourself seriously. I mean, there's too many people. They've got this idea. Devils, demons. And when you preach the good news of Jesus Christ and the gospel, it's good news. It's there to encourage and lift people up of what Christ has done for us and his life in us, how he's done everything. What we don't want to do is let people become dependent on us. I find too many pastors, they want everyone to be dependent upon them. Now, they should be dependent upon the preaching of the word. But as for magic, I don't do it. I just don't do it. I preach, teach, and heal. That's what God sent me to do. Preach, teach, and heal. He never sent me to do magic. I keep off magic. You know, if people think that I've got some magic power, I haven't. I've got good news. It's called the gospel. The gospel is the power of God unto salvation. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believes. It's the gospel. You want the power of God in your life? You want to release it? Start preaching the gospel instead of the stupid things you talk about. I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. It's the power of God unto salvation. I remember, you know, often Benson Ederhoser built an apartment for my wife and I onto the side of his home because we went there so often, and it's still there. I've got my key to my own apartment in Benin City. And, you know, people would come and they would come into the Archbishop's house and he'd say, come on, sit down and eat. No, Archbishop, I'm fasting. He said, I cast that filthy demon out of you, eat. And he'd make him sit there. And one guy argued with him, so he clipped him round the head. Bang, and he said, you sit down and eat. Don't you tell me you're fasting. I break that devil. I liked it. Say not in thine heart, who shall ascend into heaven? That is to bring Christ down from above. Or who shall descend into deeps? That is to bring Christ again from the dead. But what saith it? The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thine heart. That is the word of faith which we preach. Do you know, what are you trying to do in trying to get revival? It's not even biblical. I find people pray for revival. Well, there's no biblical base for it. They're praying and praying and praying and praying. What for? If I'm alive, I don't need reviving. You only revive what's dead. So what you're saying to God is, I've no life, I don't know your ways, and you're asking God to move when he's not moving anywhere. He's seated in heaven. And Christ is sitting at the right hand of God. They say, oh, you know, we're waiting for a visitation. You had it 2,000 years ago, you numclut. And I tell you what, if you don't start believing God, you'll get nothing. The gospel is the power of God. You don't need something else. You don't need some new move. You don't need some new experience. There's not something round the corner. God's waiting for you to live the way you should. He's waiting for you to continue in the word, to be a disciple indeed. That brings liberty. And it's a matter of realizing what you've already got. Not, oh, I'm trying to get, you know, return heavenly dove from on high. They sing the song. Well, he isn't up there, he's here. He's not coming. Doesn't matter how many times you sing it. The Holy Ghost was poured out on the day of Pentecost and he never left. Now unto him. Oh. God sent the Holy Ghost. Pentecost came. The church was born. And we're baptized by one Spirit into one body. We're alive. We don't need revival. We just need people who'll preach the gospel that's been forgotten. And the gospel is that Christ died, Christ rose, Christ ascended into heaven, Christ poured out the Holy Ghost, and we have gifts and powers, and we've come to tell people the good news. You can be free. That's the gospel. And they complicate it. What you've got to do, envision what you want. The big house. How many bedrooms? Do you want a swimming pool with it? Oh, increase your self-esteem. And then, you know, let's all pray. Oh, God in heaven, come down. He did. Tabernacle of God is with men.